that the youth had an obligation to become politically aware and more involved in the community. So behind our name, we fill in the blank. It was designed as to show that we are filling in the blank with political apathy. That filling in the blank represents our events and the political engagement that we participate in. So we're trying to totally eradicate that position of apathy between us and the community. So it's basically trying to create events that engage the youth and the community in El Paso. So our mission statement, as you can see here, we understand the value of a high school student. So one of the most important things that we encounter is that many adults sort of treat us like children. So when we try and engage in the community, try and make a point, try and reach out to them, we're not taken seriously, or there's some sort of aura of condescension. So it's breaking that attitude. So we aim to be a vehicle for progression for youth in politics. So not only do we engage in the community, but we get others, and we'll focus more on that later in the presentation. So here, we believe that the right to vote is granted on your 18th birthday, but your political know-how and knowledge isn't. That takes years of developing and crafting in order to become more politically aware. So we believe by hosting events for the youth, you develop that, so by the time you're an adult, you're making more well-informed decisions. So we're pretty well known for our debates. That's what's gained prominence throughout the community for the past 5-6 years. So our first major kind of debate was the political forum with Bill White, and that established our legitimacy as an organization. In the congressional primary in 2012, we further established our legitimacy, and our debates were quoted in the El Paso Times and the Huffington Post. We utilized two methods in our debates, the Socratic method and the traditional debate, and we even had editor of the El Paso Times, Bob Moore, be a moderator for some of those. So these are just some pictures of our debates. As you can see here, we get a pretty wide turnout. We've gone up to 600 people and greater, and that's kind of what we're known for in the community. We also have conducted exit polls in the 2012 congressional primary and for the 2016 presidential election. And we've had over 100 students. In 2016, we had 178 at about 85 different locations. And our data we've gathered, we've analyzed based on gender, ethnicity, race, and we've compared to our 2012 data. And we've been quoted in the El Paso Times, the Huffington Post, and the Economist. Now I'm going to pass it over to Sheridan, who has some of our data from the exit polls.
So a couple of the questions we asked were, in general, how do you feel things, or do you feel things are going in the right or wrong direction for the United States? And we also asked, in general, do you think things are going in the right or wrong direction in El Paso? And the data that we got from that, we feel, was our most important from that exit poll, because it showed that 70% of the voters that we polled thought that the nation was going in the wrong direction. Only 42% thought that El Paso was. So that's a really good sign for the community and that people are willing to pursue growth in the community and kind of contribute to their neighborhood organizations, stuff like that. Just having a more positive outlook on the community means people are more willing to go out and participate in it and improve it. So it's a really good sign for us.
So after our exit poll in 2012, we actually received some backlash because many people believed that we were trying to influence the election or stepping in where we weren't supposed to be. And in fact, our data proved to be the most accurate out of all the other polling done. So that definitely elevated us to a higher level. And one of the projects that we're pursuing right now is to establish a polling center. As Sheridan was saying, the information that we gathered is so instrumental in understanding the population of El Paso that if we had a polling center, we would be able to get this information out to people who don't know about it, because that data is very surprising for a lot of people.
What kind of information?
So information, as Sheridan was saying, for how they believe El Paso is going, what direction they're going in, voter turnout, voter apathy, and a lot of people are actually intimidated by politics and going out and expressing their views. So basically the psychology and understanding voting and polling. So we think that through disseminating this data, people will become more aware and start, engaging more of the community and with the youth.
And with the polling center, we're also thinking about starting some community polls. For example, if your neighborhood association wanted us to do some kind of poll for you guys, if you wanted to gain a little bit of information about your particular neighborhood, we would be willing to work with you on a project like that.
So after our 2016 exit polling, we actually held a press conference to display our data. And if you're more interested in looking at the specifics of the data, we have a booklet over there that Sheridan is holding. So you can see all the different data that we gathered. This was our first main press conference. We've had other media press releases, but I think this also elevated our legitimacy because we turned out to have pretty accurate data. So one of our flagship events that you may know us for is the Borderized Youth Symposium. So during the symposium, we gathered students from the borderland region in Las Cruces, Juarez, and El Paso to actively solve regional problems. So we've hosted this event 3 times, and we've experimented with different methods by utilizing a different youth age group. So our first portion of the event is Border Fair, where we gathered experts to come and talk about their profession and their topics in healthcare, education, and geopolitics. And the students would go around and gather information so that they could create a policy proposal. That was the whole goal of this event, to create a policy and to also get youth to be more educated in terms of geopolitics and education and helping the El Paso community. So that was the first section of the event. The second section was the regional roundtables. So here we split up the students from El Paso, Las Cruces, and Juarez, and they shared the issues that they encountered, and they shared them from a local standpoint so that when they merged together, they could understand how to create a proposal that accounts for the whole region. So not only did that broaden their knowledge base, but also their outlook on how issues can be resolved. The third section was the breakout sessions, where they worked together to create a policy proposal. And so during this time, they went to 3 workshops. They went to a policy writing workshop, a public speaking workshop, and a team building one. So we created a symposium to kind of combine all of these skills, broadening your knowledge, but also creating a policy proposal and gaining confidence. And I think after these events, the youth who attended realized that they actually have influence. And by the ability to create a proposal, they're not only disseminating their knowledge, but also creating real change. So these are some pictures from our events. This was our second Borderized Symposium. This was the one this spring, actually, 2017, I believe, from April and May. This is our second Borderized Symposium. We had 2 keynote speakers, Professor Norma Cantu from UT Austin and Dr. Paul McDowell. Some other projects that we're known for are the teleconferences with Congressman O'Rourke. So basically, we gathered students from different APISD high schools, and they all Skyped in with the congressman and had a discussion on issues they felt were pertinent. So we were literally bridging the gap between politicians and youth. They had the opportunity to ask direct questions and broaden their knowledge base. We hosted this several times, and all of those events turned out to be very successful. The purpose of these events was to enforce political engagement. So Borderized focused on the education and collaboration of the youth, whereas the teleconferences focused on actually interacting with politicians in the area. So with each project, as you can see, we try to identify a different aspect of apathy that can be eradicated. Another project that we have, you'll see if some of you have the blank on your table, that is our newsletter, and we submit one every month, and it details our projects. I believe in that one there's some exit polling data and former members who share their experiences. So if you're interested in picking up a copy, please do so. After all of these events, through our debates, through our exit polls, Borderized, teleconferences, we found several issues, several things that we encountered that we still are having trouble with today. The youth believe that they don't have an influence. They believe that once they become an adult, they'll magically become educated. That's not true. It takes years of experience. Another thing we encountered was youth didn't even know these opportunities were here. So a lot of it is a problem with outreach. We have to give them the opportunity. Giving them the opportunity, they realize they can do so much. And that's one of the key things we found in the Polarized Symposium. And we have to incorporate the youth in decision making. Don't treat them like children. Treat them like adults. We're developing critical analysis at this age, and we have the ability to create policy proposals to affect change. So a lot of it is giving them the opportunity and including them as people.
Hi, my name is Iliana Flores. I'm going to talk to you about bridging the gap of apathy. So what is apathy? The textbook definition of apathy is to have a lack of enthusiasm, interest, or concern about a subject. But when we talk about apathy in regards to our political situation or our community situation, it's a little bit different. It's about having a negative mindset and about thinking that our voice is too small to be heard as individuals. And that someone will come along and do it for us, and that someone will make the change that we want to see for us. But in reality, our government and ultimately our society is based on we the people. So we the people are the people who have to take responsibility for making the change we want to see. So why are we apathetic? Why is it that as a society we are more likely to vote for who's going to win America's Got Talent or American Idol than who's going to be the next mayor or who's going to be the next senator or president? Why is it that Texas has one of the highest voter apathy rates of all the states in the United States? It's because when we hear the word politics, we immediately jump to a negative conclusion. We jump to words like corruption or debate or confrontation. When in reality, we should be looking at politics as something more of a positive opportunity, an opportunity for change and an opportunity for communication. And speaking of communication, if we want to have any sort of positive solution to the problems we face, we have to be able to put aside our personal dislikes and opinions and incorporate people no matter their difference of views, their gender, their ethnicity, or their age. So a very critical part of that is involving the youth. We have a very unique perspective on issues, and if people give us the opportunity to voice that perspective, we will get farther as a community. It's up to the adults in society, in a way, to kind of give us the chance to prove ourselves, instead of having a negative kind of misconception, one might say, that we're selfish, or that we don't care. Because if you give us an opportunity, if you give the youth an opportunity to prove that we do care, and you give us the tools needed, we will definitely meet that expectation. Because we care just as much as the adult population of the community. It's kind of important that you educate us, because we have a very basic knowledge about politics and about how community politics works. We're only provided a very basic knowledge. So when we look at it, it might be intimidating for us. We might think that because we're one person, we can't make a difference. But if you believe in us, we'll believe in ourselves, and therefore we'll get farther. Attitude is everything, because knowledge is power, and attitude goes along with that. If you give us positivity, we'll work positively. It's very important that you don't have a pessimistic view towards us, and that you don't assume that we don't care, because we do, and we just need the opportunity to show that. And by adding the youth to the equation, not only are you making a better today, but you're making a better tomorrow. As cliche as it might sound, we are the future. And if you give us the ability to believe that we can make change, we'll make change when we're adults, and then we'll teach the future generations that they too can make change in their society. You also have to kind of consider that youth are people. We're bound to make mistakes, and we're bound to fail at points in our endeavors. But instead of looking at that as a negative, you should kind of look at it as a positive, because you can learn just as much from failure as you can from success. So instead of giving up on us when we maybe don't meet an expectation, or we don't do exactly what the adult mentors might want us to do, you should guide us and help us take a different approach or see something differently, because it's all about the way you perceive a situation. And lastly, it's about active learning. If you let us take charge of our situation, we'll rise to the occasion. If you throw us into the deep end, so to speak, we'll learn how to swim. But we have to be provided the opportunity. So in essence, the way to bridge the gap of apathy is to communicate, to educate, and to empower people, young and old. And so as I pass you on to my colleague, I just want you to ponder the question: how do types of communication allow for partnerships between the youth and our adult mentors, as well as the rest of the community?
So as you're kind of coming up with answers to that question, we're just going to go over some of the social media outreach that our organization holds, some of the main reasons why we have events. Go back. Another one. So some of the reasons why our organization holds events such as this one, and also debates and congressional just outreach, is just to involve the youth in the community. We want to reach out to those who feel disenfranchised from political like advocates such as Beto O'Rourke or other congressmen that we work with, and some of the ways that we reach out to them is through social media. So utilizing Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, certain things that some of us are working on right now, conducting question and answer service, and just providing data for everyone in the community is some of the ways that we kind of reach out to those that don't really feel like they have any part in the political process, the local political process. A study done by Common Sense Media has shown that adults and the youth spend about 9 hours per day on internet and social media, just in different ways, sort of. So we think that through social media outreach, we can have a large impact on the youth, but we can also have a large impact on adults that kind of facilitate and guide those youth. And so you can see that in ages 18 through 29, there's pretty low, low age demographic. They have had increased use of social media throughout since 2006. And then lastly, borderland diversity. So as a borderland community, it's our goal really just to connect the different communities that are on both sides of the border. And so I think this is really prevalent in our last flagship event, Borderize, the Youth Symposium in 2016. We incorporated students not only from Las Cruces, New Mexico, who's another border community close to El Paso, but we also reached out over the border to Juarez, and we brought in a lot of middle school students from there as well. And so it's just important to engage youth on both sides of the border so that you can get a binational perspective, and you can kind of see things from more than just one way of looking at it. Questions?
Actually, before we jump into questions, I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that it kind of goes back to what I was talking about. If you have any suggestions for what we should do in our events, or any events we might be able to host in the future, or if you think that we could work with the organizations you're a part of, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. That's what we want. We want to work with other people. So please find a way to contact us. If you want to come talk to us after we're finished, that would be great.
Yeah. Yes.
Two questions.
Yeah.
One, what is the average age of your membership?
We have a pretty large variance. We have freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So each member of the high school.
Mostly high schoolers, but we also have we fill in the blank alumni that are currently either out of college or still in college.
Are you all open to going to, say, an elementary school to speak to the students there about learning?
Absolutely. So for reach out to like the youth that are a little bit younger, of course, we've gone through the process of creating a YouTube channel, and part of the reasoning behind that is actually to create educational videos about government so that we can kind of guide the youth, and kind of reach out to them about government from the very young age. And so that's something that we were thinking about implementing in EPIs need to start with.
We also had a project a few years ago called Pop the Vote, which aimed to get, we went to elementary schools and we wanted to gauge their knowledge base, and we used the analogy of popcorn, whereas the unpopped kernels were what apathetic people or people who aren't interested in engaging in the community, and how they could pop into popcorn if they had exposed through political engagement
Excellent.
Another idea we had for engaging like elementary school age students in this organization for Constitution Day at the end of September, we had thought about maybe bringing little pocket constitutions into elementary school classes, perhaps third graders, because I think that's when kids start learning a little bit more about history as far as my education went. So I think maybe it won't work out this year, but perhaps next year we were thinking about doing that.
You don't want to target the grade level that's doing the social studies testing on the STAR. I think that's fifth grade.
Yes, yeah, great.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, one of my jobs today is to attend all 4 of the workshops that only part. So I'm sure that I missed some very important information. Most of my question may come across as being really repetitious or stupid. But my question is, does We Fill in the Blank have any ties with any neighborhood associations?
Not yet. This is our first kind of exposure to this large group of neighborhood organizations.
This summer.
And do any of you presenters know of any neighborhood associations in your area?
I know a few, but I haven't had really any contact.
Yeah, you know, in all honesty, at least for me, I haven't, like, no one has ever really reached out to me in neighborhood associations, and we don't really have any, like, outlet to contact them, so this is nice.
But that's why we're here, right?
I live in a neighborhood association, but I haven't really had much contact.
I got a business card you gotta take.
We have one for you too, sir.
There you go, that's me.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a question
Did you
regarding,
have one of ours?
I
'Cause
know
we
all
have some on
these
the table.
functions that you have, probably cost money. Where do you get the support, the foundation for being able to host these things?
So we're a nonprofit organization fostered through the El Paso del Norte branch, and so because of that, most of our funding comes from donations, or has previously come from donations. For example, we've been organizing to go to Tribute Fest, and we're in partnership with Southwest University and all of these other wonderful organizations, such as Hunnis Foundation and Western Refining. And a good example of that, actually, we've actually been in contact with a few people to go to Tribute Fest, which is happening in Austin, Texas, or happens in Austin, Texas this year. And so the way to get there most of the time is through facilitating a donation through some people that we've worked with in the past. And so most of the time it comes from donations.
One of the organizations that we're working with that we went through to Tribune last year is CREED. CREED, yes, CREED. And so that's one of our organizations that donates money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as the person who's kind of in charge of like finances of the group, I guess you could say that our fundraising is a little bit unconventional, because the way that we like to do it is we like to have like face-to-face meetings with people, so we can kind of make them understand like what our cause is, and just kind of incorporate them in what we do. So we have a lot of the people who donate to us. Obviously, we have their logos and that kind of thing on our banners, but a lot of times they send people to our events to like see what's going on, and they have a very active view of what it is we do. So that helps a lot with getting donations.
So you all actually established the nonprofit status?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Legal and stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right, okay, that's great. Another question about when you contact high schools, of course, you're probably waiting for them to be informed about you and then approach you, right? Any specific group in the high school? Like, do you go to debaters? Do you go to what is it, that quiz thing that they have?
Quiz bowl.
High quiz,
Quiz
yeah,
bowl,
I mean,
right.
yeah, or high Q, high quiz. My daughter used to be a coach for that, but high Q, yeah, how is it that you approach them?
So we approach the executive committee, student council, and also for specifically our teleconferences with Congressman O'Rourke, we're in contact with history and government teachers.
Okay.
So we have multiple different outlets of reaching the youth sector.
Yeah. At our previous mayoral debate, I think we were in contact with the student activities manager at El Paso High School, because that's where he held the debate. So it kind of is just it's situational. It's depending on where we're hosting the event.
I am assuming, that's not a very good word, but that you are probably concentrated in the El Paso district right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Not so much as, you know, all the 9 other districts that we have, 8 other districts that we have in El Paso area. But,
Yeah, we're working on branching out, because right now, we Fill in the Blank is very, I guess, a localized perspective, a localized organization. And so just through our flagship events and just, you know, coming to events such as these, exactly, we're trying to branch out to other areas of El Paso.
And we've kind of successfully done that in the sense that we've hit schools in Juarez and
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
we've gotten in contact with schools in Las Cruces and Horizon City and all across El Paso. So yes, it's kind of centralized, but in
Yeah.
a way it branches out
branches
to
out
our
itself,
main events.
yeah.
Have you all considered?
I'm sorry, yeah.
Considered reaching out to other boards? Sorry. Still got this.
Well, we're working with middle schools in Las Cruces and other places of New Mexico for our flagship event, Borderized, last year. And we worked, and like I said, we worked with a middle school in Juarez as well. And so I think it's situational in that we really only work with other schools when we kind of need to branch out and get members for certain projects that we help. For example, for our 2016 exit polling, we had 178 members polling. Most of those members, of course, were from Coronado High School, but for other events that we're planning and hosting in the future, we can certainly branch out to other borderland communities to get members for those projects.
Thank you for your presentation.